Hello, all you fine people out there in podcast land. You have landed on episode number 66 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is June 22nd, 2022. Rosana is my guest today, and she stays busy with running an AirBNB, being a grandma, working at a local restaurant, and selling on eBay. One quick announcement in case you missed it on Facebook and YouTube, because I know everybody's kind of all over the place out there, and you might not be on Facebook and YouTube, but you listen to my podcast. I was kind of eager when planning the 2022 calendars and overestimated how many to print. These calendars are now on a fire sale priced at $9.97. You might think, why would I want a 2022 calendar now, in June, when the year is halfway gone? Well, the calendars contain 12 BOLOs with large photos and descriptions, and these were not in the 2021 BOLO book. The calendar was designed to be a bridge between those two books and still give you some great information. There are reminders, such as a reminder for that pesky quarterly coupon that store owners forget they have. Encouragement, postal holidays, motivation, accountability tasks, cleaning hacks, fun trivia, self-care reminders, and places where you can fill in certain information about your business to keep you on track, set goals, and then look back at the calendar in the future and see how you did. So we still have 6 months left of this year, and you can go back through the past months for lots of helpful information, and you still get those 12 BOLOs. So the link is below if you don't already have a calendar and want to get one at this discounted price that you can use for the rest of the year. I also want to give a shout out to Denise Rogie, who posted this on Facebook. She said, I listen to Suzanne's weekly podcast. It's so encouraging and entertaining. It's the one thing that gets me out of bed on Wednesday, knowing I'll have something great to listen to while I enjoy breakfast. And I thought that was so sweet. So Denise, we're going to have coffee together this morning. Here's a cup for you. And the blueberry muffins are ready. So enjoy one of those. So you can just imagine, Denise and everybody else, that we're having coffee together this morning. Thank you so much for that shout out, and to everyone else for tuning in every week. I feel so honored. Okay, let's get into the chat with Rosana.
Okay, listeners, today we have Rosana Smoker with us, and she is a frequent poster on the Facebook group. I think I've seen you on all the different threads, the under $100, the over $100. So you are an active participant. So say hi to the listeners.
Hello, everyone.
And where are you located?
I am located in Southeast Pennsylvania, Lancaster County.
Okay. I think Amy Crane Decker is from that area too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think she talked about going to different Amish stores and stuff like that. She's found things to sell there. So I guess you're right there in the middle of all that too.
Yep, part of Amish country.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So let's hear how you got started selling on eBay.
Well, I was thinking about this, getting ready for this podcast, and I know that a number of years ago I was looking to possibly do something different. I've worked as a server for many years at a local restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I might get out of that. And so I was just kind of putting my feelers out. And I was talking to a friend who said she sells on eBay, and she said that she made some mention of that she was able to pay her daughter's tuition at a private school for the year with her eBay money. And I was thinking, what? Really? And I'm thinking my daughter actually attended the same school. So I'm thinking it was maybe 5,000 or 6,000 a year. And I was going, if she can do that, I bet I can do that too. And she was very gracious and helped me out with getting started. And
6,000 a year is clearing $500 a month. So when you break it down like that, it's pretty doable.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you remember the first item you sold?
I do. I was so excited to sell it. It was a Life is Good little bag, maybe a backpack sort of bag. It was light blue. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was having trouble trying to ship it. You had to figure out. There's so many things that you learn when you start on eBay, and so I sold it, but then it was like, how do I ship this? So, you figure it out.
Yeah. Was that something you already had, or was it something you bought to resell?
No, I did. That is something I bought. I don't remember why I bought that.
Probably just because
it
said Life is Good, and that's a good brand to sell.
Yeah. Although I have sold so many things out of my house.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own stockpile of personal items. and once you start selling, it's like you look at everything differently. Do I really need that? If I listed that, how would I ship it? I wonder if anybody would want that,
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, your business, things that you've sold, memorable sales, either dollar amount or a story behind it. Because everybody's eBay life is different. I mean, we have some of the same common denominators, but it's the stories that people like to hear.
Mm-hmm. Wow. The one that I recently posted was the plate, the Royal Dalton plate, that we were on an anniversary trip in April of 2021. We were in Georgia, and I said, man, I'm just going to check. We had to stop at some thrift stores, and then I had to check Facebook and see if there was anything. And I came across these Royal Dalton plates, and there were 6 of them. She said she had only used them for display. They still have the tag, the sticker on the back. And it was just kind of fun finding the place, going in, getting these plates and everything. So I brought them home. I had them listed for right at $80 a piece. And then a lady bought a couple of them for full price, and then she made an offer. And so it was all said and done, I shipped those to her. I made $320 on that one sale. And I still have one plate left. She didn't want the last one, which is why. So that was so much fun. Just something I found,
Now, where in Georgia were you?
We were at St. Simon's Island.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, we spent summers there. Having grown up in Atlanta, my parents had a timeshare, so we always got the hottest week of the summer, I think.
Of course.
Like end of July. um, but yeah, that place has changed quite a bit. But that was a bit of a haul for you from Pennsylvania. What brought you down there?
Um, Good question. Our anniversary is in April, and we do trips to Florida in the winter sometimes, not every winter. But we don't quite want to go that far, so we decided we kind of worked our way up the coast, online, obviously, just looking,
Mm-hmm.
and came upon a place at St. Simon's. So, but we would definitely go back there. That was beautiful. The beaches there, the beach was so different than anything we've been at. There was a rocky coastline, but then there was also, the beach was really, really deep.
Right. Yeah, the tide goes way out. There's really a difference in the tides. So when it's out, it's like, wow, this beach is so wide.
Yeah. It's really fun to see.
Did you go over to Sea Island?
We did not. I don't think so.
Okay, it's right next to St. Simon's, and it's more, I guess, upper crust. But there is a hotel there called the Cloisters, and it's just exquisite. I used to know a girl who was a massage therapist there, and she lived in St. Simon's, but she'd drive over to Sea Island for her work. And it's like, wow, what a place to be able to work, because it's just like what you would see in the movies. It's old, it's beautiful, it's they maintain it well, and it's quite pricey to stay there. So yeah,
a lot of history.
Yes.
In that area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, well, I'm glad you got to come visit our fair state and see the unusual coastline. Okay, so back to eBay. How many items do you have in your store?
Right around 550 right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that good for you? Are you striving for more?
That's good for me. I'd like to maintain that. My story is a little bit different. So I mentioned that I work as a server at a local restaurant. It gets pretty slow in the winter. So, and I don't mind being off in the winter, like January and February. And that's when I really do a lot of eBay then. I also have an AirBNB at my house. So I kind of have a number of balls in the air. And I really love the variety. And so right now, I'm not posting as much on eBay, just simply because I'm putting more time into my other things right now. But I love that you can pick up and slow down. It's so forgiving.
Right, and flexible. Yeah.
Yeah, flexible. Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear about your Airbnb if you want to share that, because feel free to, give the name or whatever if listeners want to check that out. But you're right there near Amish country, so I guess that's kind of the attraction.
It's a so we're on the side of a hill. We have a great view. But our suite, we just have a one-room suite above our garage, but the entrance is around the back of the house, but you only have like 3 steps into the suite. because of how it's laid out on the hill. And then you have your own entrance. It's private, and there's a little kitchenette, some easy chairs. Not anything fancy, but it's yeah, we love it. We have guests here all the time, and enjoy being outside, the great view. So yeah.
How long have you been doing the Airbnb?
I am thinking the Airbnb, have we had it 7 years?
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I investigated doing that in 2020, investing in a beach property to use for an Airbnb. And I feel like I use Airbnb all the time and I love it. But one thing I learned is that you really want the property owner on the property, or at least local, because we had a couple of nightmare visits and the property owner was 3 hours away. And let's see, it was one property that was just a nightmare. And I did get half my money back on that one, but the cleaning people didn't clean it after the previous guests. And so we got there and it was disgusting, and, you know, dirty dishes all over the place, like, you know, squatters had been living there. And so we contacted the host, and she's like, yeah, my cleaning people quit. So, you know, I'll give you, you know, $50 off if you just clean it yourself. And, you know, she didn't care. She didn't come down and do anything. And we just had problem after problem with things not working, and it wasn't what she said, and all this kind of stuff. And she had good reviews. So I think everything just kind of fell apart at the time we came. But after that experience, I thought, you know, I don't think an Airbnb investment, you know, 4 hours away from me is going to be a smart idea, because it's, as the host, it's a lot of work. You've got to be on top of everything. And if there's a problem and the internet doesn't work, or the cable TV doesn't work, or anything like that, you know, people are on vacation and they want these things to work properly.
Yeah. It's not a free ride. That's for sure.
Right. Exactly.
But at the same time, we've really enjoyed it. Have had such good experiences with guests. Most of the time, people are just so grateful to come and appreciative of what we have to offer. It's been a very positive experience.
Yeah, I bet it's fun meeting people from all over. You know, they're coming to your house.
Yeah, it really is. I work as a server, so I'm in hospitality, just, you know, there and also here at home with the two different things. So that's been fun to like tie that together too. There's times that people will ask for a recommendation, you know, and I'm able to tell them that what I have to offer, that sort of thing.
Oh, I see.
I don't, you know, tell them about the third thing, where if you have anything to sell, I'll sell that on eBay too. No.
Well, and, you know, hospitality can be a very thankless industry. You know, I could never be a server, because I would just be yelling at people like, don't get mad at me. I didn't cook your food. You know, I'm just bringing it to you. Or, you know, it's not my fault we're out of potatoes. I didn't orchestrate that. It just happened. You know, I would lose it. That's why I like eBay. You have some time and space to come up with a very professional, unemotional answer to the craziest stuff. And it can be insulting, you know, and as a younger person, everything hurt my feelings. You know, I thought the whole world was against me. But you have to learn that it's not you, it's them. You know, that jerk in the restaurant who's yelling at you about his steak not being cooked right, he does that everywhere. He yells at everybody. It's not you.
Yeah. And you have those people who are just not happy for whatever reason, but by far the majority are just if you're kind to them, they're kind to you.
Yeah, and I don't mean to talk badly about people. It's just anybody who's been in a service industry. I worked at the bank for years, and and something happens to somebody's money, it's all your fault. And that is their money and their food are two very sensitive topics. You don't want to mess with that. So that's one thing I really appreciate about eBay when I started selling was this person is not in my face screaming at me, and I'm this 21-year-old young, naive person working at the bank. And, a lot of people made me cry. It's just like, we didn't yell at my house growing up. We didn't have all this ugly behavior. So I was very sheltered. So, I love how eBay is just, you can step back, come up with an answer, retype things 2 or 3 times to soften it up so that it's not defensive or unprofessional. And I don't think a lot of people appreciate that the way they should, because you don't have to answer somebody right away. You can wait a few hours, you can sleep on it, whatever, you have time. And if they're meant to buy that item, they will. But just to the listeners, leverage that. That's really a frill of eBay is the time and space, and not having the person right in front of you losing it. That's one part I really like. So and you mentioned before we started recording that you had gone on a thrifting field trip with a friend. And I would love to hear about that, because I do go to other cities to visit people, and I always check out the thrift stores there. But to actually do an intentional road trip, I have not done that yet. And that's on my bucket list.
Yeah. Well, I have, so I'm from Pennsylvania. My good friend is from Kansas. And I'm not quite sure how we came up with the place, but we decided to go to Colorado. I flew into Denver, Colorado, and she drove. She was close enough that she could drive. And so she also had a vehicle that she didn't have to fly everything back home. And so we met in Denver there and stayed there for a few days. And it was basically shop till you drop. We hit a bunch of thrift stores, just had a great time catching up, just enjoyed being together. And I was flying back home. So I flew Southwest. So I actually, partway through, my husband came out then. After we were done shopping, he came out and met me. And her husband had been out there. He was staying at the same place we were, but he was working. He was out there on business. So when they came back home, my husband came out, and we spent some time then, just a couple of days, just looking around the area there. What I was going to say, so we flew Southwest, so we had 4 bags that we could fly home. So it was 200 pounds of goods.
Oh, that's a lot.
and we took it right down to, we might have had 2 pounds left. But it was great. It had to be packed just right. And I don't know, we talk about planning another one. It's just a lot of fun.
What a great way to do it. And I hear Denver is prime pickings for thrift store stuff.
We went to the bins there. We did a number of bins there. And that was a good time. I mean, we weren't there by ourselves. There's a lot of competition there too. But it's all good.
Okay, well that's great that you got to fly somewhere different. And, it wasn't just your same area. Because that's quite a distance from Pennsylvania to Denver.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it too, like she was able to get, if there was larger items or that sort of thing, it was like, oh, hey, Rachel, you want this? Because I couldn't bring those large things home. So that worked out really nice that she had that option.
Well, what kind of things did you buy? Did you focus on small, lightweight, or clothing? Or I'm sure other people have this idea as well. Like for me, the ultimate would be an RV. And just go to many different cities, and you've got plenty of room to pile up your stuff. But I know nothing about an RV, so I need a person who knows how to do all that and is going to empty the black water and all that stuff you have to do with an RV, because I am just not going to do that.
I know nothing about an RV.
Yeah, there's a lot of planning. Like you can't just stop somewhere. You have to have a reservation, or well, I think you get one night in a Walmart parking lot, so you can plan it out among different Walmarts on your route. But you have to have a reservation to go to these campground places. I'm probably not using the right terminology, but it's not just find a place and stop. There's some planning involved. And then if the weather gets bad, you might say, oh, well, we don't want to go in that direction for a while until that terrible storm is over, or if it's too cold or whatever. So you have to be willing to be flexible to stay with the good weather. If,
Sure.
I don't think I'd want to drive an RV through, the horrible thunderstorms of midsummer in the plains.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, I got totally off track, but I asked you what kind of things you focused on, knowing you were going to have to bring it all back.
I tell you what, well, as well as I do, that you've got to go with what you can find too. I had gone thinking that I would get more clothing, and I got some clothing, but I didn't do real great on that. Probably without a doubt, the best find there was, so one day I was digging in the bins, those big blue bins. They had just rolled one out, and really nobody was around me right then. And there was just this little black case. So I opened it, and I recognized it as a musical instrument. I wasn't even sure what it was, and thought, yeah, I think I better get that. And I put it in my cart, really didn't do anything with it until I got home. It was a Yamaha flute. I had to do a decent amount of research on it because I just didn't know anything about it. Ended up selling that within the month for $341.
Did you post that sale?
I don't remember if I did. I know that it was right around Christmas and New Year, in that area. So I can't remember if I posted that or not.
Because as soon as you started telling this story, I thought, I feel like she sold that for around $300.
So maybe I did. There's a good chance that I did. Yeah. So I couldn't believe it. I had allocated, so $3 was what I, said that I paid for it because of I always allocate a certain amount to each item. So yeah, that was the best find. As far as the other things, wow, it was just a bunch of stuff, things that, and of course I had to pack. Everything was all mixed up with the packing because I was more concerned about weight getting it home than anything else, and making sure that I didn't buy a lot of breakables, though. I was going to say that things don't break. I know I had bought a beautiful vase. it was just a beautiful vase that I really wanted to bring home. I really wanted it, but there was just no way of getting it home in one piece. So I gave that to Rachel. Yeah, I don't know if she sold it or not. It doesn't really matter. It was just, there was some things that you just had to leave.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So she is in Kansas. And she drove to Denver. I have done that drive the other direction from when I was out visiting in Wyoming. We drove back. We met at the Denver airport and then drove back to Atlanta in 2 days. I thought this was with my man who passed away in 2020, and he was working out in Wyoming on a ranch as the chef. So I flew out once and stayed for a week, and that was just the most amazing trip ever. And then he was like, why don't you fly out again when I come home, and we can drive across the country together. And I thought, well, you don't have to ask me twice. I'll be there. When and where. And so we did that, and it was in November. So it was quite cold. But he was so ready to get home. And I talk about this in my book. I thought I had visions of like, oh, this is going to take a week and we're going to stop at all these places, and see all these landmarks in our fine country. And no, he wanted to get home. So we stopped in Columbia, Missouri for one night, and then made it to Atlanta the next night. And I was just like, why are we in such a hurry? He's like, well, when you've been out on a game ranch for 6 months, you're ready to get home.
Ready to get home, yeah.
But
what you had in mind.
But back to Kansas, I just thought it's so flat, which I'm not used to from being from Georgia. We have lots of different types of terrain. And the tumbleweeds were they were as big as cars. Like, I had never seen anything like that. And you had to dodge them. It was so windy. You had to dodge them going down the highway. And I just thought that state would never end. It was just hours and hours of all this flat land. And it was just something to see, it was just very different. So when I hear Kansas, I'm like, a very long state and giant tumbleweeds. So, and then I think of Pennsylvania, I think of Hershey.
Oh, yeah.
Which,
not far.
Yeah. How close are you to Hershey?
About close to an hour.
Okay. Yeah. Do you ever find old Hershey memorabilia to sell?
Oh, no. I have not. I have not found any of that. There's a lot of what we have here is vintage, just vintage hard goods. There's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I've found anything Hershey.
Well, like, I'm in Atlanta, Coca-Cola stuff is everywhere. It's, I'm sure there's some valuable vintage stuff mixed in, but like, everybody here is a collector, and it's just all, well, I want to say all, mostly cheap, crappy stuff that was mass produced, the little polar bear holding the Coke bottle, and just all the hats and all that stuff. Most of our Goodwills have an entire aisle of Coca-Cola stuff.
Oh, wow.
Just because, they're like Disney. They just make stuff and they know people are going to buy it. So you really have to look to find anything of any value.
And you know what? Maybe the Hershey things are out there, but it's not on my radar, if that makes sense. Like, I don't I don't see it because I'm not looking for it.
Yeah, you see it all the time. You're numb to it. Yeah, that's great. So are you you have your restaurant job.
Mm-hmm.
Are you heading for retirement, semi-retirement? Are you just juggling? Well, you're juggling your restaurant job, your Airbnb, and your eBay, which I think that's just the world we live in. Everybody has more than one stream of income, and you're smart to do that because, I keep talking about May was just unprecedented for me. How slow it was. And I'm not a complainer about slow sales because I know they go up and down, but this was just, I've never seen anything like it. And so I know it'll pick back up at some time. And we can't just dwell on it because what is it? Is it inflation? Is it people are hanging on to their money because they don't know what's going to happen next? Are they only buying what's necessary? Essentials. And I had transitioned my business to not so many essentials to more collectible things. So I'm rethinking all of that, more bread and butter items, because that's what's selling for me are the lower dollar things. So I would never tell anybody to do eBay 100% for your income, any reselling, because it's just very unpredictable. And I mean, people are panicking, and you sit around all day, like looking at your phone. Is anything sold? Is my phone working? Call my daughter. Hey, buy something for me. I want to see if this is working. Maybe it's not working anymore. So anyway, you have 3 different streams of income, and I think that's really smart.
Yeah. And I still say sometimes that eBay is a profitable hobby. And I think I would still say that. Well, I love doing that, but I love like I said, the diversity that I have. And when one is more active, I can back off on the others or that sort of thing.
Well, and what is your busiest time for your Airbnb?
Just getting into that. Actually, April to really through November, weekends are usually full.
That's most of the year.
And then because of where we are, we have a pretty long driveway. And so in the winter, we're often, unless someone requests to come, we often have it closed just because it's always a little bit tricky with the snow, what if they get snowed in here, that sort of thing. So we just often have it blocked in January and February. So that really leaves my time open for eBay then. If my other 2 things are kind of closed, then eBay is my complete focus. But then, I have grown kids. I have 2 grandchildren and 1 on the way. So I have a really full life. And I also want to allow room for them, and time that I can get away and be with them, and rather than just focusing on my work.
So you can say, okay, today's busy. I've got some Airbnb people coming. I want to see my grandkids. I'm just going to list 3 things this morning, and I've touched my business and move on.
Yeah, that's right. So there's times when I hear people talk about like you said, May was really slow or that sort of thing. I feel like I can't really judge the same because I don't. You know how it is. However much you put in is what you're going to get out of it. So I can't expect to get 100% out of it if I'm only putting 50% in.
Well, and I don't think necessarily when you increase your number of items, like let's say you want to get up to 1,000 items. I don't think that your sales are going to double. I have tested this many times over the years. It's not an exponential relationship. It's because people think when they first get into this, oh, I've got 200 items. Well, if I have 1,000 items, that's 5 times more items, which means I'm going to make 5 times more money. And I don't see that. Obviously, it depends on what you're selling and that kind of thing. But, all I can say is for the listeners to test it for yourself.
Yeah.
And I've been up as high as 750 items, and I didn't sell any more per month. I mean, it really didn't affect the revenue. So it's just not a mathematical relationship. There's a lot of analytical people that get involved in eBay, and maybe they've been in retail and they bring that knowledge, those retail rules to reselling, and it's not the same. You don't have the overhead, you don't have employees, you can work as much as you want, but like sell-through rate, I think it's just total bunk, because if you're selling something that's unusual or even rare, the sell-through rates can be very low. Like some of these stuffed animals I've sold for $200, $300, only 3 of them sold within the last year. It's a terrible sell-through rate. So I look at profit per item rather than sell-through rate, because the more scarce something is, the worse the sell-through rate's going to be.
Sure. Yeah.
And that is not a retail philosophy at all. They're all about how much we put on the shelf, how many sell, all these equations that just don't fit for eBay. Some people cannot reprogram that thinking, and they give up, they quit. But the more you stick with it, the more you see that, it's really a lot of gut instinct, and go with that, even if it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's it's the universe talking to you saying, do it.
And you talking about gut instinct, for me, that's a lot of what even the pieces that I choose to sell, like when I'm out thrifting and that sort of thing, I'm trying to get to the place where I can look at something and see the quality a little bit more, whether it be clothing or shoes, or there were some shoes, a number of probably 2 years ago that I sold. Sidewalk was the brand, but it was spelled completely different. And when I looked them up, I should have done some research on this before I tell this
That's
story.
okay. This is an organic conversation. It's just whatever comes up. And if you think of it, I can put it at the end of the podcast.
Okay. But I looked at those sandals and I thought, well, these are well-made sandals. I ended up selling them for over $100. And it was some specialty thing. But that was strictly, kind of following my gut. And that's what you're saying as well with is just follow your gut, even with what you're looking for, selling and everything.
And I feel like on the more rare items, we have completed listings on our phones through the app. That only goes back 30 days. So if it is a rare item, it's not going to be on there. You want to use Terapeak and go back a year. And that can be very misleading of like, oh, this feels high quality. And you go to Google and look up the brand and it's a $200 shoe. I found some called Beautifeel, Beautifeel. Never heard of them. They just felt and looked high quality. You could tell by the stitching and the weight of the shoe and how the leather felt and all of that. And yeah, they're like $200 to $300 shoes, but there was only a handful sold on that 30-day window on the app. Yeah. So, okay, they were $5. Ooh, big risk there, So I went ahead and got them and then did the research. And yeah, a lot more had sold within that 1 year window. So I know you can go out on the internet and get on Terapeak that way, but it's just so small on your phone and it's time consuming. And sometimes internet's not good enough in the store. So sometimes you have to go with your gut.
Yeah.
But in worst case scenario, you're out a few bucks and you can redonate it. So I find stuff like that all the time just by, I mean, God gave us 5 senses. Let's use them. Let's use touch. Let's use vision. You know, I'm not going to smell things. If they smell bad, I'm not buying them. Unless I can put in the washing machine, you know, but if something smells bad, I'm not going to buy it, because like mothball smell is really difficult to get out. And sometimes the clothing itself might have been exposed, or along its travels to the thrift store, whatever got next to it has been cross-contaminated. And just, I hate it when that happens. And you find this beautiful item that is going to be valuable and vintage and well-made, and it's just mothball state.
That takes the fail.
Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about using your intuition and your senses to make these decisions, because sometimes you just don't have time to look it up. Like if you're at the bins, I don't see that you would have time to do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, you can always redonate it, I guess.
Certainly put it in your cart.
Well, and sometimes I'll buy things. Now, granted, I really never pay more than $5 for anything, but just as a research example, like I'm going to take this home and see what it is and do some more research on this brand or this item or whatever. And it's the cost of education.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets redonated because it turned out to be a dud, and I'm just not going to spend my time on it if it's not worth it. But eBay really is about what you know as much as what you don't know.
Yeah, and you bring up a really valid point there, the research piece. That's one of my favorites. Just there's always things to learn. You know, what is this, and what did people use this for? And I know recently you mentioned the What Is It group.
Yes.
I believe it's the What Is It group, and I've used that a couple of times. I like to look at it, but I've also put things on there. What is this? So it's just fun to learn, you know?
Oh, I totally agree. And I'm deep in my second BOLO book now, just about have it finished. And I'll spend hours. You know, I've got lists of things that I've learned along the way, either just myself or seeing other sellers post it or talking to other sellers and learning something new. And so it's just, I love the whole research and compiling the information into one place. And I'll get on these rabbit trails, and it's like, I'll be looking up one thing and then it will lead to something else. And then it will lead. And it's like, I learned 4 new things today. I had no idea these things sold. You know, maybe it's the same category or made of the same material, or a vintage item or something that's being repurposed. And, you know, trash to cash is just really intriguing because of what people collect that the untrained eye just thinks is trash. Yeah. There's something called 19 Crimes wine. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. Well, next time you go to the grocery store, do they sell wine in your grocery stores?
No.
Yeah, I thought you were one of those states.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So it's this wine, and there is like a black and white photo on the front of some random criminal from history, you know, 1800s or something. And there's an app that goes with it. So you put the app on your phone and then you hold it over the picture on the bottle, and the person comes to life and he's telling his story of, oh, I robbed this saloon and this happened to me and I got put in jail and all this stuff. And it's like an interactive thing. So listeners, it's called 19 Crimes, and you can put the app on your phone. It's free. And it's just something they came up with to be more interactive with their customers. But those bottles and the corks from the bottles are collectible. People want to get all of them. And the latest one is Snoop Dogg.
Oh,
He's on the front of a bottle, and people are selling these empty bottles for that purpose. And it's like, I got all into this one day and I'm like, why do they want, why this? Why not other wines? And it's because of this funky app that has created a following where you can see them come to life and do their story. And I was just like, here I am researching stuff for this book, and I'm over here learning about wine,
You truly do learn new things every day.
And the why that people want things. I think the why is so important, not just what, but when you know why, then that can apply to other things like it.
Sure.
So, the research part is really fascinating. And I talk to a lot of sellers who feel the same way. They just are fascinated by what sells, why it sells, and, finding more information so you can be a better seller.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've been going quite a while here. And the last question I ask is, what kind of advice would you give to new sellers or sellers who are juggling many income streams? Because I think you only started, less than 5 years ago?
Yeah, I started in 2018.
Okay. Yeah. So you've been doing it long enough to be wise.
Well, I don't know.
Well, you have some wisdom about your journey anyway. So
yeah.
What kind of advice would you give?
I would say I know I hear people talk about, they don't know what to do. Well, just start. That first time that I put that Life is Good bag out there, it was like, wow, what am I going to do when it sells? We can figure it out. You're going to go step by step. Shipping international, I didn't do that for a little because I didn't know how that would go. Or you just walk into it and soon you become comfortable with that. Or even shipping breakables. Not my favorite thing to do, but then you learn how to do it, and it's not completely, there's occasionally things that I have break, but you figure things out. And so just start and move into it.
And I think
enjoy the ride.
Yeah, enjoy the ride. And I think if you just break it down into steps, because everything you do in life is steps, baking a cake. Okay, you put the eggs in, you put the other ingredients in, you mix it up, you put it in the oven. Everything is just a series of steps. And if you look at it like that, just focus on what is your next step. Don't try to figure out 12 steps from now, because everything's going to change anyway.
Yeah.
So just focus on the next step. And I see you posting pretty regularly in the Facebook group, but I don't know if you've posted questions, but there's so many resources for asking questions other than the eBay help desk, which it's just people reading scripts. They don't really sell. So it is better to ask someone who's been there and done it and can give you some advice. And, if you ask 20 sellers, you're going to probably get 20 different answers, but at least there is social media, there's Facebook, there's YouTube, there's all these places you can ask a question.
Yeah.
And that didn't exist when I started, which is why I teach this now, because I didn't have that.
And you have I do really appreciate what you have to offer with your teaching. It just, that is a lot of step by step, you know? You teach step by step how to do things and how to lift and how to ship. And I really appreciate your teaching.
Oh, well, thank
I
you.
a lot.
Okay, well, thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast. And did you want to give a plug for your Airbnb, like the name of it, so people can find it?
Yes, I'll do that. That is Secluded Suite, and it is in Kinzers, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And I can put a link to that below the podcast if people want to.
That would be fantastic.
Maybe you'll be booked up for years to come.
All because of you, Suzanne.
No. I mean, if you've had this thing for 7 years, you probably have a lot of great feedback and people just find it organically. But I always like to help other entrepreneurs with their ventures because I know how hard it is to juggle many different things and to get the word out. You know, advertising isn't cheap.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, thanks again, and we'll see you on the Facebook group.
All right. Thank you, Suzanne.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I had to hold back on including the song Rosana by Toto, as I'm sure she gets sick of hearing that. And one correction, I misspoke about the resort at Sea Island. There is no S on the end. It is called the Cloister, not the Cloisters with an S. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, today's trivia question is, how does McDonald's make most of its money? The Big Mac? French fries? Here is your 5 seconds to think about it. And the answer is not a food item at all. In fact, it's not consumable at all. McDonald's makes money by leveraging its product, fast food, to franchisees who have to lease properties, often at large markups, that are owned by McDonald's. Approximately 93% of all McDonald's locations worldwide are franchises. So the answer is real estate. McDonald's makes the lion's share of its revenue from real estate. So now you know that. And that's it for this episode, ending on a fast food note. Thanks so much for tuning in. I feel like I should sing the Carol Burnett song about I'm so glad we had this time together, but I will spare you my singing. That is one area where I have no talent. Have a great week on eBay, and I will be back next week with another seller interview. Bye.